Chicago Public Schools just announced it's laying off more than 1,400 school-based employees. This includes 432 teachers and 677 special ed classroom assistants. CPS says this is part of its annual workforce planning and budgeting process. Historically, the district says more than 80% of impacted employees have secured new positions within CPS prior to the start of the school year. It's not known if the current $734 million budget deficit will impact that rehiring process.
Division. Look, we are a welcoming city ordinance. Our local police department will not ever cooperate with ICE. Whatever their constitutional authority is.
Well, while everybody's flummoxed by Donald Trump's big mistake with the Epstein files, the world keeps on spinning and we still at war. And the consequences of liberal policies are still manifesting themselves in ways in which affect generations upon generations of American citizens. Karen Bass came out and said that she was going to be giving illegal aliens money, reparations. And I'm going to start here by saying this. If you are a Black American, primarily, then if you are an American, in general, which Black Americans are Americans, and you're not upset by the fact that Karen Bass has announced that she's going to give illegal aliens reparations for their feeling hurt behind or because they can't leave their houses because they're afraid they're going to get deported, then you should be a damn ashamed of yourself. If you're not upset with the fact that public schools in places like Chicago are going bankrupt because the money was diverted to take care of illegal aliens, you should be ashamed of your damn self. And I want you guys to remember this as we deal with what this psychological operation is being waged against you in the media at the behest of the mistake that Donald Trump made. This battle, this war is not over. And the demoralization is to get you to turn off from this type of activity that's going on and just say, I throw my hands up and I quit. That's what it's designed to do. But let's take a listen to what's going on in Chicago.
Now, Dr. Melan King is serving as the district's interim CEO. In a one-on-one interview, she spoke about her biggest challenge, closing a huge budget hole. Dr. Melan King has been on the job for 14 days. She has spent the bulk of her time hunkered down with the school district's finance team, learning about CPS's dire financial situation.
I'm optimistic and hopeful that we will find innovative ways, not just to solve the budget crisis in this immediate need for this school year, but the school years to come.
Optimism and hope are needed considering CPS faces a $734 million budget gap during a time when money from the federal government is being cut.
Our priority is protecting the classrooms. That is first and foremost.
While the Chicago Teachers Union and CTU-backed school board members are adamantly against cuts in schools, Dr. King says closing the budget hole will take a combination of solutions, possibly new revenue, cuts, and borrowing. King is counting on a series of community meetings for some ideas.
We have not engaged our stakeholders in the fullest over the years, and this is an opportunity to find out what might actually be out there as an innovative solution.
The almost billion-dollar budget deficit includes a controversial pension payment Mayor Brandon Johnson wants CPS to absorb. King did not have an opinion on who should pay for it, but she says it should be included in the budget as a potential expense. King has worked for CPS for 32 years as a principal and teacher. She was pulled away from Mayor Lori Lightfoot to work in the mayor's office and stayed on with the Johnson administration. Some critics worry she's in place to do the mayor's bidding.
And see, this is the problem when leftists and socialists get in control of a city. Kids end up suffering. But then you'll have the news and liberal media trying to tell you should feel sorry for illegal immigrant children and illegal immigrants. But the choice is very clear. It's between you and your bloodline and your children's future and the future of people who are not even citizens of the United States of America. This budget deficit, which is true, it's almost $1 billion budget deficit, comes from them directly aiding and assisting illegal aliens. Something that Brandon Johnson has been very vocal about. Brandon Johnson saying stuff like, I don't care what anyone says. We're going to take care of our constituents. And I want you to notice she used the language stakeholder. Stakeholder is World Economic Forum language. It came out 3 years ago. They started talking about people who were stakeholders. See, you can't say citizens because citizens mean people who are members of the citizens of the United States of America. You can say stakeholders and constituents all day long because that includes those people. The issue that we run into is that as long as America sits with this 60 million people in America eating up its resources, we will be destroyed. I'm sorry, there's no way around. And we haven't even got to the next phase of this battle, which is the battle against Islam. That battle against Islam is raging in other nations like Spain. I don't know if you see, I'll take you to Spain after this real quick. But we haven't got to the actual physical battle yet. We haven't been conquered to the point of physical battle. We're being baited into physical street battles. And so far, people, there's not been enough frustration for people to head out into the streets. This is the problem when we allow socialists to run our nation. And then when you allow immigration policies to get out of control. Because I'm telling you, I don't believe Brandon Johnson won that last election. I believe it was stuffed ballots, the same way everything else was stuffed ballots. And the children of Chicago are paying the price. Chicago is one of the most violent cities in the United States of America. And remember I said about Black Americans? To my white brothers and sisters, I want y'all to chill. Don't get offended. But see, for Black Americans, you a damn fool if you support this crap. If you support illegal immigration. You're a damn fool. Because the place that it hits first and the hardest is your neighborhood. Point blank period, because they stuffed them right in your neighborhood. And then the second place they stuffed it was into rural American neighborhoods. Liberal cities tend to be on the outskirts. I mean, liberals tend to live on the outskirts of blue cities. So liberals get affected. But they're so damn crazy. They just like, crime is out of control. And, well, I hate Donald Trump and I hate conservatives. And we have to take care of the illegals. But them illegals don't live in a neighborhood because they're in a suburb. And they have the ability to pick up and move into a suburb. But they play you every time. And the issue is they've taken this illegal alien matter, and now it's spread to the point where it's affecting the entire America, entirety of the nation of America. And it's got to stop. I mean, it straight up got to stop. But we're going to let them continue to talk about the corruption in Chicago.
It's okay. If that's what people feel, I think my actions will show differently that I am here for Chicago public school students.
King did not say whether she plans to apply for the permanent position, but she did say the next CEO should have a background similar to hers.
I think that whoever takes the permanent seat should have a very solid understanding of Chicago and Chicago public schools and its history.
Because the search for a permanent CEO is likely to take several months, Dr. King is expected to be on the job for at least the first half of the school year. Classes begin on August 18th. The school board has until the end of August to pass a balanced budget. She is a
See, the issue that they've run into is they had all this federal funding coming in for illegal aliens, and they thought it was going to keep coming. So they was moving budgetary funding around. You got to also understand, too, when you brought all those illegal aliens kids in, you had to send them into schools. And then the school budgets ballooned because budgetary wise, you didn't account for all these kids coming in that are not citizens. So everything quadrupled because you brought in all these kids that's not citizens. And so now there's no federal funding for it. And so now they're left with this budget deficit. They didn't protect Chicago students and kids in the first place. Brandon Johnson doesn't protect Chicago students and kids, because if he did, he would have his police out in the street stopping the foolishness that goes on in the street and the murders. Chicago has always been this way. It was like that before Brandon with Lori. Before Lori, it was a white dude, I forgot his name, well, skinny faced dude. Chicago's always been messed up. The issue now is it's exponentially messed up. Watch this. In fact, watch, let's go 20 years ago, same thing. Watch this, I'm gonna find it. 20 years ago, all you gotta do is type in Chicago budget problem. 9 years ago.
Brief introduction.
I need a clip.
The reality of the situation is that they lost their budget discipline, both at the city level and at the schools, at the school level, at CPS, really after 2001 and 2002. And you saw it, this pattern of spending more than they were taking in, and then borrowing and deferring obligations and postponing obligations and extending pension holidays so that they could continue to maintain their ever-increasing spending levels. So I'm not citing individuals other than to talk about what wasn't done.
You want the School Finance Authority reinstated?
Yeah. I think there needs to be oversight. I think there needs to be oversight of the budgeting process. I think two things need to be done. I think the state auditor should do an assessment and evaluation of the school district. Back in 1979, when you had the financial crisis, the Chicago Public School financial crisis back in 1979, when the district collapsed, they lost their bond rating. You and I are old enough to remember that. The state came in and the state auditor did an assessment and analysis of the school district. I know, I worked on that report, and I found that the state auditor general's investigation of the district was the most substantive of the work done on that committee. But I think there needs to be an independent review of the school district's finances, and then secondly, I think the School Finance Authority should be reinstated or reactivated to, in effect, evaluate and assess the district's budget to make sure that the type of financial practices that got them out of their mess back in 1995 are the type of practices that are being exercised today.
And you think you need the elected school board?
Well, I think you need elected representatives on the school board. I believe that it should be a hybrid board. I think if you have 2 or 3 at-large elected members, you bring transparency to that board. You'll bring much greater transparency than you've had over the last 10 to 15 years. And I think having that hybrid is the best thing to do.
Thank you.
See, so when I say that this liberal area has had this problem for a very long time, it has had the problem for a very long time. The issue is now the problem has been exacerbated by this illegal alien issue. Essentially, they always been grifting and stealing money from the school boards. In every blue city, there's corruption and grifting going on. The issue boils down to once you bring in this new set of obligations, that when that budget hole gets bigger, and they want to still keep grifting. And now all this money's going out the window for things that it just should not be going out the window but you still want your piece of the pie. You still want your cut. And then under Biden, you had all this extra federal dollars coming in. So they say, oh, no, we about to get all this money. We got to get all this paper. It's a sad thing, but it's what has to happen in order for people to change, man. And I'm hoping that at some point in time, we're going to have a change.